Hello, everyone. We welcome you to another episode of Marriages of the Kingdom with Adrian and Nicole. We are coming to you from wytv7 Christian Broadcasters Network out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and we are so happy that you have chosen to join us again on today. Before we get started, we do want to mention that on November the 27th, that is Giving Tuesday. So we do invite you to give, as we are a nonprofit organization. And you can do so by going to our website, which is wytv7.org, and clicking on the donate button. Again, we do appreciate your donations. And so for today, we have a amazing topic, a topic that is greatly needed in marriages. And we're excited about this episode today. And we will be discussing reigniting the flames in your marriage if it has become stagnant. And what stagnant means is it means that your marriage has become inactive or your marriage is dull. So if you have joined us on today and that is you and that's your marriage, we have something for you to reignite the fire. And many times when we are married, we assume that our marriages will flourish and grow by themselves, but that's not the case at all. That's not true. We have to be intentional daily regarding our marriage and the time that we put into our marriage. Building a marriage requires time with each other. If we don't spend that time together and build our marriages, they will begin to grow stale and they'll get boring very easily. And so let's talk today about some ways you can rejuvenate your marriage and bring some pizzazz back to your marriage, okay? We want to bring some pizzazz and spice back to those dead places in marriages in the kingdom, amen. And so before we get started, you may want to look over at your spouse if you're watching this episode with your spouse and say fire to your spouse. So letting them know that, yes, you want to rejuvenate your marriage. And I want to discuss some ways to help you identify when your marriage is getting to a place of stagnation. And you don't want to disregard those places because a lot of times couples will ignore those warning signs that are happening. And if you continue to ignore them, they don't go away. They get worse and worse. And so some of the signs that are warning signs for you in your marriage, you may start to think about life without your spouse. So if that's you and you're sitting around like, well, we really don't do anything anyway. You know, there's no excitement in our marriage. You know, I'm not with them that much anyway. And so now you're fantasizing about life without them. That's a dangerous place. Another thing is you get to a place to where you can only see the negative. The good, the bad starts to outweigh the good. That's also a dangerous place to be. Another thing is you get to a place where you're not sharing your thoughts and your feelings with your spouse. You definitely do not want to get there. You want to communicate. Communication is key to a healthy marriage. And then another thing, you feel alone when it comes to resolving marital issues and problems. You feel that you're the one that has to figure out everything and to do everything. And what happens is now you get the mindset of, well, I'm doing everything anyway, so I can do it on my own. And so if you're having thoughts like this is definitely the episode for you. And so you want to pay attention here.
And that's key when you say that you're thinking about the thoughts, because everything that happens in life begins with a thought. So if you're thinking these bad things and you're thinking negatively about your marriage, then we have to stop that and get you back to thinking in a more positive way about your marriage.
And again, you want to pay attention to these warning signs so that they don't get any worse off than they are, that your situation does not increase in a bad way. And so make sure that you pay attention to these signs and do something about it. Don't have the attitude of, I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. Do something about it if you're having these type of feelings.
Very good. All right, so we have some ways that we want to discuss with you to to help bring back and help reignite those flames in your marriage. And one of the first steps is you have to never stop dating. Never stop dating. Take time to be together, just the two of you. Impress each other. Laugh. Have fun. Dating does not always doesn't mean that you're going somewhere. So when you're dating, you have to come up with ideas. Dating is a mindset. Again, goes back to the thought. Dating is a mindset. Remember how you were when you first started dating? Remember how you were when you first met him? Remember how you were when you first met her? Remember when you first began to start falling in love and the euphoria was there and all those good things? Take your mind back there. Go back to that place. You have to realize your marriage is worth every effort of your time.
And one of the things that you said there, dating is not necessarily going somewhere. It's a mindset. You can date in your bedroom, your kitchen, your living room, on your front porch. It is a mindset, and it's about you saying, I am setting aside this time to spend with my spouse, just me and my spouse. That's what dating is. And so that's another thing. We have to change our mindsets about what dating is. Dating does not mean that you date. That's not what dating is. Again, it's a mindset. So change the way that you think about dating your spouse, and that'll really help you here to ignite the fire in that area as well.
That's right. One of the key ingredients for myself, I know one of the key things that we do, that I love to do, and we have to laugh. Life can get you can get bombarded with life. Life can get so serious and bring you like you're just always in a tight spot. Make sure that you have fun. Make sure that you continue to laugh. Share those things that are funny. That's only between you and your wife or you and your husband. Those things that the two of you may see something and immediately the both of you know that, oh, that's one of those things that we had discussed. And it's a little funny moment just for you. May not be funny to anybody else, but make sure you have those times to where you are laughing and having fun again. Okay? I want you to also understand that we, in marriages, we have to learn how to pray together. If you're not already doing it, or if you've done it a long time ago and then somewhere along the way you stop, you got to make time to pray for each other as well as pray with each other. Okay, let's talk about that. Prayer unites your soul. It unites your souls and opens your heart to receive the love of God through your love for one another. Start somewhere where you're comfortable with prayer, and then slowly stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone, meaning that you have to start. There's got to be a starting point somewhere. And it doesn't matter if when you say comfort zone, it doesn't matter if you're face to face or if you're on your knees together or if you're hand in hand, arm in arm, however you decide to do it. Make sure that you spend those times where you're starting to get into a comfort zone of praying with someone in front of God, the three of you praying at the same time.
And with that comfort zone, that also can be just a simple fact that maybe you don't necessarily have a prayer life. And if you do have a prayer life, you don't have one with your spouse. Again, a lot of times we tend to, in marriage, in Christian couples, period, we tend to spend a lot of time alone. We feel like all of our time needs to spend alone with God. Yes, you do have to. It is absolutely necessary for you to have that alone time with God and prayer, but it's also as necessary for you to spend that time with your spouse and pray with your spouse. It blesses my soul when my husband lays his hands on me and prays for whatever situation I'm going through. When he prays for our marriage, when he prays for our children, for our ministry, that blesses me. It does something to me. It's incredible what that does to me. So it's very important that couples are praying together. That is very necessary.
Yeah, it amazes me just in casual conversation how many times you'll hear husband and wife, and they'll honestly say, "Hey, we don't pray together. We don't. That's something he prays on his own, and she prays on her own, and we just do our own thing, and then we come back together at a later time." you have to realize that prayer is a key ingredient in your marriage. And with it being a key ingredient, you have to utilize the key ingredients. Mm-hmm. We're talking about reigniting the flame. So prayer is an essential part of that. It helps you to become intimate with each other as well as intimate with God. So the three of you praying at the same time, learning how to communicate on the same level. You'll be surprised how much your marriage will grow out of that.
Yeah, because pretty much what we're saying is you can't reignite the fire in your marriage without the foundation. And that foundation is putting God first and going to Him to get direction for your marriage.
Mm-hmm. And understand, we're not talking about just a one-time deal, or you may do it once a quarter or twice a year, something like that. We're talking about getting to a place to where you are consistently praying. Your prayer life has got to be consistent, just as it is when you're on your own. You have your individual prayer life, and you become very consistent in that. You have to become consistent, husband and wife, praying together. You have to learn that praying with and for your spouse will take your marriage to another level. Your marriage will continue to grow leaps and bounds once you start communicating together through prayer.
And one of the main ways to reignite the fire in your marriage is through physical intimacy. So we want to talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Physical intimacy. Sex is an integral piece of marriage in order for the romance to be there. It is the part of the glue that keeps a marriage going strong year after year. Mm-hmm. It's important to have sex, and it's even more important to have good sex. Mm-hmm. There is nothing like sex that it just does something for you. It does something for the intimacy. It does something for your connection with each other. And so you don't want to just have sex. You want to have a relationship and communication to where you have great sex, not just sex. Because this helps you feel more connected to your spouse, mm-hmm. and it makes you feel cared for and comfortable. Mm-hmm. And another thing about it is fun. I even read somewhere that even having sex in the mornings is a way to lose weight. You can lose weight in the morning. So ladies, for those of us, we have those issues sometimes with wanting to make love because we're tired and we have headaches and backaches and all of those things. If we try to lose some weight, make love to your husband in the morning. That'll help out there. Okay. And then another thing, anyone who is married knows keeping a marriage, let alone a sexual connection, and keeping it strong and vibrant, that can be very challenging. Mm-hmm. So over time, we change physically, we change psychologically, and then life throws curveballs at us where now there are distractions coming in that kind of push away some of that intimacy. But believe it or not, even with the hardships that we all experience in marriage, in and outside of the marriage, because everything is not internal, some things come from the outside, it is still entirely possible to keep the spark in your marriage. It just requires work. What we're saying is this can be done. It just depends on how much work that you want to put into it. It depends on, do you want to just be married or do you want to have a beautiful marriage? Yeah.
And also, speaking of sex in the marriage, make sure we don't get complacent and start to feel like, okay, sex is a chore. Meaning, okay, now I have to go do it. I really don't want to, but it's my husbandly duty, or it's my wifely duty. Don't take that attitude and approach when it comes to sex. Don't think of it as a chore. This will dampen your sexual relationship.
Yeah, that's good. And a big mistake many couples make is to believe that the natural connection and the energy that you had when you first met, a lot of couples think that that's supposed to be automatically there. Mm-hmm. And then they feel, well, I don't feel what I felt before when we first got married. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that anymore. Mm-hmm. You won't feel it if you don't put the work into it. Okay. And so we want to talk about that for a minute. Because after a while, this phase of your relationship it will not carry over without effort. You have to put effort in it for that to carry over throughout your marriage. Sex and passion, like anything else in life, has the potential to die out if it is not both honored and nurtured by both parties in the marriage. So you have to nurture your sex life. You have to nurture your relationship with your spouse. If you don't nurture it, those butterflies that you felt in that first, second, third year marriage, they will dwindle away, and they will dwindle away very quickly. So you have to put the work into it.
Absolutely correct. And you mentioned very key part in that statement that she just said was both parties in the marriage have to be nurtured and honored with your sexual intimacy in your marriage. So make sure that both parties are there, open and willing to participate.
And I found a study, and the study said that as neuroscientific research has proven, when you are in a new relationship, during the first 6 to 18 months of that relationship, our brain throws out a variety of neurochemicals, which helps to expedite our biological mating dance that we have. Okay. So that's what the butterflies are within that first 6 to 18 months. Okay. Our brains are full of serotonin and dopamine, which keep passion alive and kicking with little assistance from us. Okay. So what this study pretty much says is that first 6 to 18 months, it doesn't take any effort. It's part of meeting someone. Is part of that newness. That's part of it. And the chemicals in our brain are activated automatically when something new happens. And I just thought about something with that. That's why I believe a lot of times people who are habitual with having infidelity and things, they're looking for that newness. They're looking for, they're chasing that same feeling over and over and over. That's not normal. That is not normal. Okay. Then you have to realize, as quickly as these mating neurochemicals arrive, they leave just as quickly. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, it's time for you to roll up your sleeves pretty much. Mm-hmm. And now you have to put some effort into your marriage. You have to put some effort into your sex life. So if you want to keep your sexual relationship going strong, you need to commit to making it a priority. It's not just going to happen. Yeah. You have to commit to it. And so that's the biggest key. Put the work into it, and you have to be consistent with it.
I think that's very key in keeping, you got to make the commitment. You got to make the commitment and not just expect for it just to happen. Especially for a lot of us males, we look at it sometimes, we just think it's just supposed to happen. That's just the way it is. It's a part of life. It's just supposed to happen. What do you mean I have to work? So definitely from these statements, you have to understand that our makeups are different. The makeup within our bodies, we're different, male and female. We are different in a lot of ways when it comes to that. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward. All right. You can also keep your passionate spark alive through regular and productive communication with your spouse about sex. Productive meaning you're not blaming, you're not pointing the finger, and also you're not shaming. Let's deal with that for a moment. In shaming one of your partners, if your spouse, if your husband or your wife, if your husband feels a certain way, or if the wife feels a certain way about a particulars in the bedroom, the way she may like it or the way he may like it. When you guys have these discussions, let's not come across shameful. If one spouse says, well, hey, I like this, and this, let's not get to the place to where we're like, ooh, that's bad. What? Who does that? Don't, that's shaming. Don't, because when you're at a place like that, now you're opening up the doors and you're opening up trust and honesty. So if you can't have trust and honesty with your spouse, who can you have trust and honesty with?
That's true.
So by shaming one another, now you're taking away that trust and you're tearing down, you may not even realize it, but you're tearing down your communication skills and your communication level. So make sure that we do not we blame. Let's don't just not do the shaming game. No, let's don't complain. Complaining, meaning that here we go again. Didn't we just do it last night? What happened? Wasn't that enough? Wasn't last week enough? Wasn't last month enough? For some of us, that's the way it is. But we definitely have to get to the place to where we're not complaining, we're not blaming, we're not shaming, but we keep the communication open with our spouse about sex. You also may want to include your discussion of a few things. Include these things. Make a commitment to sustain your sexual connection through good times, and especially the more challenging ones. By the way, sex is a great stress relief. Did you know that?
Yeah, it is.
It's a great stress reliever as well. And in today's society, so fast-paced, and that we all have these jobs, and we have businesses that we're trying to run. So it gets hectic at times, and we build up a lot of stress. So we have to understand that sex is a great stress reliever. If you do lead this busy life that we're talking about, you need to make sure that you're not too busy to where you start neglecting the much needed intimate moments in your marriage. Do not neglect these moments, not only when it comes to sex itself, but also the beginning, the foreplay, the touching, the hellos, the greeting, the kissing, the touching. All of these things are a part of it. Don't get to the place to where you neglect it. And we start to expect that, okay, well, that's just done wore off. Let's just keep moving with life. Let's go about these jobs. Let's build our ministry. Let's build our churches. Let's whatever you have going on, and you start placing more emphasis on that. Even with your family time, even when it comes to our children, a lot of us try to place more time on our children instead of placing the time that we need on our marriage.
Yeah, and that's important because a lot of times, like he just stated, we put all the emphasis on what's going on with the children. You have to put emphasis on what's going on with your spouse and with each other and build each other. Because if you build each other, your marriage is going to be beautiful and your kids are going to be taken care of. But if you start putting all this emphasis on your kids, one day you wake up and you don't even know who your spouse is. Because all of your time together has been at the football game, at the soccer game, at your child's basketball game, at cheerleading practice, all of these different things, but you and your spouse hasn't spent any time together. So you want to make sure that you focus on each other.
Also, you want to include lighting some candles, play some relaxing music. In other words, you have to set the mood right. Set the environment.
You want to shake up your bedroom some. Shake up your bedroom a little bit. Experiment, with lingerie. Get some lingerie, ladies. Men, you can get something that your wife might like, some nice boxers or whatever it is. For you ladies that don't like to wear heels, get some heels. Get some heels. It's not like you necessarily have to go out somewhere in the heels, but if you can wear them on a date night, that would be great as well. But even put on some heels in the house. Walk around the house in some high heels. There's nothing wrong with that. Wear them in the bedroom.
Absolutely. And that goes back to, again, like we're dealing with communication. You got to communicate. Fellas, she doesn't know unless you tell her. Ladies, he doesn't know unless you tell him. You have to have these discussions. We have to learn how to communicate and be open in our marriages to where, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and we have to be able to communicate that.
That is true. That is true. And another thing, when you come home, welcome each other with a hug and a kiss. That is so important. My husband and I, we never enter the same room where we have spent time apart from each other without hugging and kissing each other. That is so important. When you have been separate from each other, come together. That does something, for each of you. It distresses you from what's been going on through the day. It's a safe place. So start doing that if you're not doing that. Hug your spouse when you see them, kiss them when you see them. That is very important for you to do that. Your body should not just be touching each other when you get to bed at night.
Right. In other words, you have to make sure that you're going through your day when you are together, hugging, kissing. Make this a part of your daily routine. Make it a part of your routine so much so to where it just becomes natural. As my wife was just saying, it's natural for us now. It's just we just walk in the room. If we've been apart, we just walk in, and it's natural. It's not. It's something that we don't think about. Personally, I don't think about it. It just we walk in the room. It just happens. It just happens. That's the first thing I do is hug and kiss my wife. So we have to make that a part of our daily lives.
And so we are going to get ready to actually close out this episode here and go into part 2 of this episode. There is a part 2 to this. But before we go there, we'll give you a couple more things that can help ignite the spark or reignite the spark in your marriage. Okay. One of the things that is really good for that is massages. Of course, we can go and have a massage and go to a massage parlor somewhere, but there's nothing like the spouses massaging each other. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like that. You can do it once in a while or you can do it frequently, but it's a really sweet gesture. And of course, giving a massage, it can be physically tiring to give a massage, but even the love that you're giving out during a massage, that's the biggest thing right there. Mm-hmm. The relaxation that your spouse feels from that, that's the reward from that, you know.
And you're also going back when you're doing the massages, you're also going back to a place of trust. You're also saying again, I trust you. I trust my body with you. And so it helps you both, husband and wife, to bring in that trust factor again. And it also, again, it brings about the natural relaxation that the physical body needs. Your physical body, we do get worn out. We do get tired. We do get stressed. So it brings about a relaxation to the body that will also increase and help your marriage.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Another thing is send thoughtful texts throughout the day. That is so important, at least once a day. Mm-hmm. Take the time to let your spouse know that you care about them, that you're thinking about them. Even if they don't reply to the text, they may have a job where they can't reply. But the thing is, when they go on break or to lunch or whatever, mm-hmm. when they could look at their phone and say, oh, wow, he or she, my spouse is thinking about me. That does something for them. And what we do, because a lot of times we get so used to knowing each other and we assume that each other is okay. We just assume that your spouse is okay. We assume that they're having a great day. Don't assume. Right. Be intentional about your marriage. Send your spouse a text just to check on them, or just to say I love you, just to say I'm thinking about you. Mm-hmm. That's very important to try to do that at least once a day.
Yeah, definitely. That goes back to just not making the assumption. And we all know what assume means. If you don't know what assume means, you have to go look that up. But let's not assume anything. Let's make sure that we stay on top of our marriage.
Mm-hmm. That is good. That is good. So we thank you for tuning in with us today for another episode of Marriages of the Kingdom with Adrian and Nicole. We invite you to please connect with us on our website. And can you share that information with them?
Yes, our website is marriagesofthekingdom.com. Again, that's marriagesofthekingdom.com. Or you can connect with us via our email address, and that is info@marriagesofthekingdom.com. Again, that's info@marriagesofthekingdom.com. So until next time,
please be intentional about your marriage.